Om Sadashiva Samarambha Acharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Paramparam Om Sahana Vavatu Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we will continue with topic number 189. We were seeing the various factors which were being taken into account, and today we have to look at the fifth lingam. We have seen fourth lingam. Fourth lingam is already over. The fifth lingam has to be taken. So we read topic number 189. Prakarana Pratipadasya Tatra Prasamsanam Arthavadaha.
Tatra prashamsanam arthavadaha
Yatha tatraiva utatam adesham
Yatha tatraiva utatam adesham
Aprakshyo yena shrutam bhavati
Aprakshyo yena shrutam bhavati
Amatam matam avijñatam vijñatam iti
Amatam matam avijñatam iti
Advitiya vastu prashansanam.
Advitiya vastu prashansanam.
So the fifth lingam is Arthavadaha. Arthavada is a statement often found in the Shastram, which is not a basic pramanam statement. And therefore, the Arthavada consists of two components, which is stuti, that is praise, and ninda, that is criticism. And how do we apply this Arthavada? Whenever the essential teaching, the Tatparyam is there, you will find that the Tatparyam is glorified. Stuti is there. That is the glorification. And whatever is criticized, ninda, whatever is criticized, is not the Tatparyam. This is how the application of Arthavada is there. Some statements in the Shruti, you will find that they are glorification and some are criticism. They are not statements of fact. Statements of fact are pramanam, but there are other statements which are Arthavada. And Arthavada is to be used to find out what is the Tatparyam in this manner. If some teaching is being glorified, then that is the Tatparyam. If something is being criticized, that is not the Tatparyam. So he says, Prakarana Pratipadasya Tatra Prasamsanam. The glorification of whatever is the Tatparyam. Prakarana Pratipadasya is the Tatparyam. Tatra Prasamsanam. The glorification again and again, that is Arthavada. For example, in Shastram you will find that Jnani is Sarvajnaha. So Sarvajnaha means omniscient. Omniscient means all-knowing. And actually speaking, there is only one entity which is all-knowing. What is that?
Easwaran.
Easwara. And therefore, when you find in Shastram a statement saying that Jnani is also Sarvajnaha, omniscient, you have to understand that it cannot be a statement of fact. Why can it not be a statement of fact?
Because he cannot be Sarvagnya or Jnani.
The reason is that knowledge takes place where? In the mind, which is Anatma. So knowledge in the Jnani's mind is there, which is Anatma, and knowledge in Ishvara's mind is there, which is Anatma. But the Jnani's mind certainly cannot be equated to Ishvara's mind, because Jnani's mind is subtle body, one individual subtle body, while Ishvara's mind is the totality. And therefore, when you say that Jnani is Sarvajna, that is a Arthavada. It's a glorification of the fact that Jnani is to be worshipped, right? Because he is really speaking, he is not Sarvajna. His only knowledge is what? That I am Brahman. The only commonality with the Jnani has with Ishvara is that he says, I am Brahman. Ishvara also knows he is Brahman. But in terms of any other knowledge, you cannot equate. Therefore, that is called stuti. It is prashamsa. It is glorification. And yatha tatraiva, he says tatraiva here means you find this sort of arthavada in Chandogya Upanishad also. And utam tam adesham aprakshayo. The teacher asks the student, did you ask for the knowledge? What knowledge? Yena shrutam shrutam bhavati. Which means by which knowledge, whatever has not been heard. Yena ashrutam, whatever has not been heard, shrutam bhavati, will become heard. Amatam matam, what has not been experienced will become experienced. Avijñātam vijñātam, what is not known will become known. So this is again a glorification in short, because there is no knowledge by which whatever has not been heard will become heard. Whatever has not been experienced will become experienced, and whatever is unknown will become known. In short, this is the glorification of what? Iti advitiya vastu prashansanam. This is the glorification of Advaitam. Understanding that one piece of knowledge, that I am Brahman, is the highest piece of knowledge, and that is common with Ishvara also. And therefore, any other interpretation is a glorification. It is not to be taken literally. We should remember also that if Dvaitam is being criticized, if duality is being criticized, remember that is also Arthavada statement. It is not a statement of Pramanam. The difference here is, what is a statement of Pramanam? A statement of Pramanam is a fact. Like Brahman is, Ishvara is. These are statements of fact in the Shastram. But things like Jnani's mind is equal to Ishvara's mind, all these kind of statements are Arthavada, glorification statements. You see, he talks further about it in the later paragraphs. And the next topic, we are going to take up the sixth lingam, which is what? Utpatti, reasoning. So we will read topic number 190. Prakarana Pratipadyartha.
Prakarana
Sadhane tatra shuyamana yuktir uppapattihi.
Sadhane tatra shuyamana yukti upapattihi.
Yatha tatra yatha saumyekena mritpindena sarvam mrinmayam vijñātam syāt.
Yatha
तत्र यथा सौम्येकेन प्रतिपन्नेन सर्वं वृणमयं विज्ञातं स्यात्
Vācārambhanam vikāro nāmadheyam.
आचारं विकारो नामधेयं
नामधेयम्
Mrittikētyeva satyam.
मृत्तिकेत्येव
Mrittikētyeva
सत्यं
satyam.
Ityādo advitiya vastu sadhane vikārasya.
इत्यादौ
Sadhane
साधने
vikarasya.
विकारस्य
Vācārambhanam mātratve yukti śrūyate.
आचारमात्रत्वे युक्ति श्रूयते
So we are talking about the sixth lingam, which is called Upapatti, which means Yukti, which means logic, reasoning. So he says, Prakarana Pratipadya Artha Sadhane. Prakarana Pratipadya is the Tatparyam, the essential teaching of the text. Artha Sadhane, Artha means the tool, the instrument. Sadhane, Artha Sadhane, a tool for ascertaining the Tatparyam of this particular text. What is that? Tatra Shruyamanaha yuktihi. Whatever logic, yukti, is found in the Shruti. So Shruyamana is heard. So Shruyamana means whatever is heard in the Shruti, which is what yukti, logic. Where tatra, in various places of the Shruti, it is known as upapatti. That is the definition. Yatha tatra, just as we find in tatra here means in the Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad. And he gives the example, Yatha Soumya, so Soumya is the disciple, just like Ekena Mritipindena, because of the knowledge of Mritipindam is lump of clay. Pindam is a lump. Mrit is clay. Brid is clay. So Mritipindam is knowledge of one lump of clay. Ekena Mritipindena, just as the knowledge of one lump of clay, what happens? Sarvam Mridmayam Vignatam Syat. We know that all products are clay only. Once you know what is clay like, then whenever you see the product made out of clay, whether it be a plate or a cup or anything else, Sarvam Mridmayam Vignatam Syat. You will know that all these products are clay only. And therefore, what is the conclusion? Vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam Mrityiketveva Satyam. Very famous quotation from Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter. He says, Vikaraha, all products are namadheyam, are basically name and form. And where are they? Vacharambhanam. They are produced by the tongue alone. So all products, the first three words, Vacharambhanam Vikaro Namadeyam, means all products, all karyam are basically name and form, and very nicely said, Vacharambhanam, produced on the tongue. And what is the Satyam then? What is the essence? Britakatyev Satyam. Brid eva Satyam. The clay only is Satyam. So in the example of clay and products of clay, he is saying that any name you give any product of clay, it is really clay alone. The name is basically produced on your tongue. It's only a word. And therefore, ityadav, in such examples, advitiya vastu sadhanena, in establishing that there is only one non-dual vastu, in the example clay, vikarasya vacharambhanam matratve, and to establish that all karyam, all products of clay are nama matra, name only, mithya, nominal existence. So nominal existence only in name. So that is what he's saying. Vacharambhanam, they exist only on the tongue. To establish that, what does Vedanta do? Yuktihi shruyate. Vedanta uses logic, tools of reasoning. And remember that in Vedanta, in Shruti, for Vedantics, the primary knowledge, primary pramanam is the Shruti Vakyam and not logic. Right? Logic is only secondary supporting logic for us. So even if there is no logic, we can accept the Shruti Vakyam as true, because that is what is our faith in the Veda. And of course, in many places, the Shruti Vakyam is also backed up by some logic. Such logic is called Upapattihi. Right? This is the sixth tool. And with this, we have completed the topic of Shravanam. So, Sadananda does not mention the Prayojanam of Shravanam, that the benefit of Shravanam, he does not benefit. And we can supply here that Shravana Prayojanam, the benefit of Shrayojanam, can be presented as one is Ajnana Nivrittihi, that is the ignorance is removed. One is Pramana Asambhavana Nivrittihi. So Pramana Asambhavana is the doubt that the words of the Shruti, Pramanam, doesn't convey much to me. So Pramanam Asambhavana Nivritti. So freedom from such doubts about interpretation of Shruti Vakyam. That is the second benefit of Shravanam. And the third benefit is prameya asambhavana nivritti. So pramanam is Shruti Vakyam. Prameyam is what? Is what is talked about in the Shruti Vakyam. And therefore, when Shruti says you are Brahman, there may be some prameya asambhavana. How can I be Brahman? The removal of such seeming doubts, which is what? Because when Shruti says you are Brahman, Shruti is saying that you are infinite. But my experience, my daily experience tells me that I am finite. And therefore, removal of these seeming contradictions in Shruti Vakyam, that is called Prameya Asambhavana Nivrittihi. So there are three things. Ajnana Nivrittihi, that is removal of ignorance. Pramana Asambhavana Nivrittihi, freedom from interpretational doubts. Prameya Asambhavana Nivrittihi, removal of seeming contradictions in the Shruti Vakyam with my experience. So this is the topic of Shravanam is now over. From the next topic, we will be entering Mananam. Okay. So we look at topic number 191. Mananam tu Shrutasya.
Mananam
Shrutasya
Advitiya Vastuno Vedanta Guna.
Advitiya
Vastune Vedanta Guna.
Vedanta Nuguna.
Vedanta
Vedanta
Yuktibihi Anavaratam.
Yuktibihi
Anvaratam
Anuchintanam.
Anuchintanam
Mananam tu. Definition of Manana is being given. Advitiya Vastuno Anavratam Anuchintanam. So Anavratam means without a break, continuously. Anuchintanam is thinking about. So thinking continuously about Advitiya Vastuhu, about the non-dual Vastu, non-dual entity, that is called Mananam. So what is that? It is basic. What tells you about non-dual entity? Only Shravanam. And therefore, thinking, contemplating on the words of the Shruti, that is Mananam. And he says, Shrutasya Vedanta Anuguna Yuktibihi. With the help of reasoning, Yuktibihi, based on Shrutasya Vedantaha, on Vedanta Anuguna, on Shastric data only. To be based on data which is collected from Shastra, not from anywhere else. So it's a very important point because you see lots of people, including most educated people who are studying Vedanta, trying to use scientific data to prove Vedantic facts. And here it is said that that is a futile exercise. Never use science to establish Vedanta. Why is that so? Because science collects data from the observed world. And that data comes from where? With the help of sense organs. And therefore, sense organs perceive what? Anatma or Atma? They perceive only Anatma. And any data, therefore, collected by the sense organs from the observed world is only Anatma data. How can this Anatma data be useful for analyzing Atma? And therefore, Shastric data has to be used for analyzing Atma, and Shastric data has to be collected from where? From Shastra only. That is what is called Mananam. Therefore, Mananam is contemplating about the teaching that you have got from Shruti. The Vakyam, the statements made in Veda only, you should never try to, correlate or confirm using scientific data, external data. The Prayojanam, that is the benefit of Mananam, is again not mentioned by the author, but we can supply Samshaya Nivrittihi, removal of doubts, Yukti Virodha Nivrittihi, removal of doubts based on logic, and Prameya Virodha Nivrittihi. So Prameyam is what? Is Brahman. The removal of doubts regarding the nature of Brahman. First is removal of doubts in general, removal of logic-based doubts, and removal of doubts regarding the nature of Brahman. These are all handled through mananam. When this mananam process is firm, then no more doubts will remain, which is why we say that your knowledge from Shravanam can have doubts, but providing mananam has been proper, that doubtful knowledge of Shravanam is converted into doubtless knowledge after mananam. And that doubtless knowledge alone can be used for nididhyasana. Now we will look at topic number 192. We will read Vijatiya Dehadi Pratyarahita
Vijatiya
Vijatiya
Advitiya Vastu Sajatiya Pratyaya Pravaha
Advitiya Vastu Sajatiya Pratyaya Pravaha
Nididhyasanam.
Nididhyasanam.
So all very beautiful verses. You are seeing concepts not seen anywhere else. At the very basic level, terms are being defined. So nididhyasanam. What is nididhyasanam? There are two types of nididhyasanam in Shastra. So we talked about this in Drik Drishya Viveka also. If you remember, one is Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam. Vedantic meditation while following the Ashtanga Yoga method. You have to sit down in a posture and follow those rules laid down in Yoga Shastram and then do Nididhyasanam. That is called Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam. And this is dealt with in great detail in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6. Krishna's entire teaching of the chapter 6 is basically about Samadhi Abhyasa. That is why he talks about place and the time and the posture and the seat, everything is talked about. All the rules are being given over there. That is the first type of Nididhyasanam, Samadhi Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam. The second one is Brahma Abhyasa Rupa Nididhyasanam. So this is dealt with in Panchadashi in chapter 7, which we have not done, so I'll not refer to that. But it is dwelling on the Vedantic teaching in any manner which is suitable to you. So it can be by reading, it can be by teaching, it can be through discussion with friends, it can be through repeated Shravanam also. So it need not follow the rules of Yoga Shastra. It need not follow the Ashtanga Yoga steps, which are about Desha, Kala, Asanam, etc. We need not bother about. So that's the second type. But in this text, in this particular topic, Sadananda deals with Samadhi Abhyasa only, the formal postural meditation. And it defines it over here. Sajatiya Pratyaya Pravaha Nididhyasanam. So Sajatiya means what? Of the same jati, of one type, of one species. And Pratyaya is a thought, Pravaha is flow, and therefore Nididhyasanam is defined as Sajatiya Pratyaya Pravaha, the continuous flow of thoughts of a similar type only. And what is the subject of the thoughts? He says Advitiya Vastu, non-dual Brahman. So in Nididhyasanam, you have a continuous flow of thoughts, but they are all thoughts about Atma only. It can be any of the aspects of Atma which various verses have talked about in Bhagavad Gita, in Upanishads. Whatever has been learned in Shravanam, they can all form the subject of Nididhyasanam, providing you have chosen similar thoughts about Atma or Brahman. And that is not only that is not sufficient. He adds something else. Vijatiya Pratyaya Rahitaha, excluding Vijatiya. Vijatiya means non-similar, not belonging to the same species. So excluding all thoughts which do not belong to the Atma category, Dehadi, he says. To illustrate that, it means Anatma. Deha means Anatma, body. So no Anatma thought should be entertained. And therefore, this Sajatiya Pravaha, the continuous flow of similar thoughts, should be to the exclusion of any Anatma thoughts. Only Atma thoughts should be there, and there should be no Anatma thoughts at all. This is the definition of Nididhyasanam. What is the Prayojanam? Again, Sadananda does not say, we have to supply. What do? Normally, I judge myself on my body, mind, sense complex. And we have seen in all our teaching so far that as long as you keep using the body, mind, sense complex as the basis for judging yourself, you can never have moksha, because body, mind, sense complex is finite. But if I develop my self-image on the basis of Chaitanyam, consciousness principle, then and then only can I say that I am free from all problems. So in our initial stages, we have said that we measure our progress based on FIR, frequency, intensity, and recovery time when the mind goes out of order. So we base our progress based on the improvement in FIR, which means the improvement in the transformation of my mind and of course of my attitude and behavior. But later on, as we come to higher Vedanta, we have to say that it is okay to refine the mind as a sadhana for enjoying life. Just as you do yogasanas to refine the body, it is okay to use all sort of methods, including meditation, etc., to refine the mind. But as an advanced Vedantic, I should know that the condition of my mind has nothing to do with my moksha. And therefore, at a later stage, we have to drop this FIR concept also. And we have to say that whatever way my mind is, it has nothing to do with me because I am Brahman. So really speaking, the body, mind, sense complex, the mind, the intellect, all these things are anatma. And whatever way they behave, whatever problems they have, it has nothing to do with me at all. Because I am the Atma which was always free, which is always free, and which will always be free. So using the mind as a yardstick is basically anatma-centered moksha. You have centered yourself with anatma, and then you are saying, I'm going to improve my anatma to such an extent that it will not interfere with moksha. But if you switch to atma-centered moksha, you realize that anatma is irrelevant in the scheme of things. You can continue to improve your body, you can continue to improve your mind, but you should always be very clear that the improvement of the body and the mind is at a vyavaharika level. It has nothing to do with me at the paramarthika level, which is Atma alone. Okay. We'll do one more topic and then we'll stop for questions. Topic number 193. Samadhi dvidaha.
Samadhi
Samadhi dvidaha.
Samadhi
Dvidaha.
Savikalpo nirvikalpascheti.
Savikalpo
Nirvikalpasheti.
So several topics before, I think it was topic 181 or something, we talked about Samadhi. In addition to Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, the author picks up that topic again and says Samadhi is of two types. So because we said that we are looking at the Yoga Sutra type of Nididhyasanam, all these topics are coming. So if you are familiar with the Yoga Sutras, you will find this easier. So Savikalpaha, this is one type of Samadhi. Savikalpaha means what? With Vikalpaha. Vikalpa is division. And therefore Savikalpaha means with division. And there are three divisions. Vyatra, the meditator. Dhyanam, the meditation or the process of meditation. And Dheyam, which is the object of meditation. So these three are called Triputi, the triad. So Samadhis of two types. The first type is Savikalpaha, with these divisions of the meditator, the meditation, and the object of meditation. The second type is Nirvikalpa cha iti. Nirvikalpa means without division. So remember that in the Yoga Sutra, the interpretation is that these three, the Triputi, it breaks. So the meditator is not aware that he is meditating, and he is not aware of the object of meditation. That is the interpretation in Yoga Sutra. But in Vedanta, there is a slightly different interpretation. We still say that in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the Triputi is not, you are not aware of the Triputi, but it has become so subtle. The thought has become so subtle that it is as good as absent. Carefully, you have to note the thought is not obvious because it is very, very subtle, but it is not absent. It is so subtle that it is not felt. It cannot be seen or understood as a thought, but thought is very much there. This is the difference between Yoga Sutra and Vedanta. Yoga Sutra will say that thoughts are not there. It's a state of arrested mind. But we will say that thoughts are there, but thoughts have become so subtle that we are not able to recognize those thoughts. Okay, any questions?
Om Acharya ji, I
Yeah.
have just one clarity I need. When we were speaking of meditation, without any idea of the body mind intellect complex, so often when we are said that in meditation we start from a state of inquiry by saying that how can I be the body, I should be the consciousness, so that falls under reflection, mananam, or that will fall under nididhyasanam only?
That is all Nididhyasanam only,
Okay,
because all those are
but
your
there,
teachings.
okay, thank you.
Om Acharya.
Yeah.
So in this verse, when we say that there are two types of samadhi, one with awareness and
Yes.
one without it.
Yes.
The one with awareness will be the Vedantic one, the Vedantic interpretation one.
No, even Yoga Shastra says that there is a Nirvikam Samadhi in which the Triputi, those three are not there at all. That is the
Yeah.
final state of Samadhi in Yoga Shastra. But we
Mhm.
are saying yes, that is, we agree with it that there will be no awareness of what is happening. But it is not because thought is absent, it is because thought has become so subtle that you are not aware of the thought. That is the only difference.
Okay. And one other thing is that I have been always, when we've just finished the Patanjali Yoga Sutras with Nana Gopalji like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And in this Dvaitam philosophy, when you attain the final goal, the Kaivalyam, is that you know that you are not all this anatma, the prakriti, and you establish yourself as Purusha. But in Vedanta, prakriti, the difference is that prakriti is not real. It's just
Yes, correct.
prakriti is also me. But so
no, not exactly.
as this
Prakriti
step
is mithya.
is mithya, yes.
Yes.
So Yoga Sutras, the Patanjali Yoga Sutra just only take us to this level of knowing who we are, but fails in telling us that that prakriti that we are separate, apparently
Duality
separated
is,
from.
yes, in
was
Patanjali Yoga Sutras, duality is still there.
Okay.
So there,
Yes.
the state of bondage is because Prakriti and Purusha are entangled, and the process of liberation consists of disentangling the two.
Yes.
So Prakriti is separate, Pradhanam they call it, but separate, and Purusha is separate. But in Vedanta, we say that where is the question of separation? One is mithya, and mithya vastus are not as good as not being there at all. So the example we use is of the dream. See, there are two levels of reality, right? One is your level, which is you, the Satyam, that is you, the Atma, and your the relationship, that is the Jagat, the world, is a lower level of reality, which we call Vyavaharika Satyam. The other one is Paramarthika Satyam. If you want a example, you take two other levels of reality, Vyavaharika Satyam and Pratibhasika Satyam. So Vyavaharika is a relational, transactional world, and Pratibhasika is the dream world. There are also two different levels of reality. The same example can be applied. That from the level of Vyavaharika Satyam, Pratibhasika is very much there. But it is a lower level, so it's not capable of affecting you at all. The tiger in your dream cannot touch you in your waking state. Similarly, the same analogy you carry forward. So the Jagat is mithya, and therefore whatever problems are there can affect only in the same reality. The Jagat is Vyavaharika Satyam, and all problems will be there only in Vyavaharika Satyam. Therefore, as long as you claim yourself as the body, mind, sense complex, you are in Vyavaharika Satyam, and you will be troubled by the world. But the moment you understand that no, I am Atma, then that is Paramarthika Satyam, a different level of reality. This Mithya Jagat and its problems can never affect the Paramarthika Satyam, which is you, Atma or Brahma.
Okay, thank you.
Acharya ji, I have a question from topic 186. May I please ask?
Yes, of course.
So, Acharya ji, that talks of the second lingam, abhyasa, repetition, where the central topic is repeated several times because it is just to highlight the importance. So, Acharya ji, what is punarukti dosham?
Punarukti dosha is when you repeat the same thing, right? But there is an exception that when the teaching is the very tatparyam, which is the very essence of a particular text, and the essence of the Chandogya Upanishad we are talking about in that particular statement is basically Tattvamasi. You are that. That is the very essence of the text. And therefore, when that, to drive home that, when the teacher repeats, that is not considered punarukti. It falls under this particular lingam that it is being repeated again and again. Therefore, it is the central teaching.
Okay, thank you.
So, Acharya, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So when we just spoke about Nirvikalpa, and we said that Vedanta believes that there is some thought which is very subtle, but it is there in the mind.
Yes.
Is it because we do consider that mind is finally an Atma, and so there will be some vrittis or thoughts in it, however subtle? Is that the way to understand?
The mind basically is what? The mind is basically a bunch of thoughts only.
Yeah, bunch of vrittis.
So there can be no
Come and
mind
go.
without a thought. At least one thought should be there.
Okay. And that makes it anatma.
No, it is anatma in any case.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody else was asking a question.
Acharya.
Indiraji, yeah.
So the third sutra which talks about the Tadadrashti Sarupeva Sthanam, so the only seer established, is it then isn't that Advaita? Like,
No, it's not Advaita because it says that Chitta Vritti Nirodha. When the thoughts are eliminated, and we don't accept that thoughts can be eliminated. That is a precise point being discussed. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi also we say that a thought is there, but it's very, very subtle. So it is not recognized at the time of Samadhi. But when you are out of it, then you will say that, okay, I was thinking about this thing. How do you recall what you were thinking about after the thought is over, after Samadhi is over? Because the thought was present, not recognized in that state, but later on you can recognize it.
oh, okay. So, so it's not possible to be thoughtless.
Well, it is. I mean, providing your mind is non-functional. Somebody hits you on the head with a hammer, yes, you'll be thoughtless for some time. Otherwise, no. Yeah. So as long as the functional mind is there, thought is always there. So remember, because Vedanta will never ask you about not thinking. The very process Shankaracharya says repeatedly in various texts, do not surrender the mind, do not surrender the intellect. That is your only ally. It focuses entirely on the intellectual capacity that a person has.
Yeah,
Okay, so let us look at topic 194. Tatra savikalpo nama.
Tatra savikalpa namah
Nyatra jnanadi vikalpalaya.
Nyatra jnanadi vikalpalaya
Anapekshaya advitiya vastuni.
Anapekshya
Advitiya vastuni.
Tadakara karitaya chittavrittehe.
Tadakara karitaya chittavritte
Avasthanam.
avasthanam.
So he's continuing the topic. He says tatra, where among those two types of samadhis which you have discussed, which is savikalpaha and nirvikalpa samadhi, chitta vrittehe avasthanam, the continuous presence of thought, advitiya vastuni, regarding the atma, what happens? Tada akara karitaya, by taking the shape of Brahman. The continuous presence of thought, when it is talking about the Atma, it takes the form of Atma or Brahman, which we call the Akhanda Akara Vrittihi. What is that called? What is that vritti called? Aham Brahmasmi. So when he says Tatra, among those two types of samadhis, when you are meditating on Aham Brahma Asmi, so that Aham Brahma Asmi vritti, the thought, is what? It is Advitiya Vastune. It is a thought of Atma only. And therefore, what does that thought do? You remember the discussion we had about how knowledge takes place. You think about all that. That thought, it takes the shape of the Atma. It takes the form of your thought, which is called Aham Brahma Asmi. That thought is in the form of Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham Brahma Asmi is, here he says, it is as if taking the shape of Brahman, because Aham Brahma Asmi essentially means I am Brahman. That kind of a thought process where you are thinking Aham Brahma Asmi, that is called Savikalpa Nama. It's called Savikalpa Samadhi. What happens in the Samadhi? Vikalpa Laya Anapekshaya. Without the layam, without the dissolution of Vikalpa, of the Triputi. So the Triputi is not dissolved. Anapekshaya means without expecting or without dissolution of Triputi. And what is the Triputi? Jnatra, Jnanam, Adi. So Jnatra, Jnanam, Jnayam. The knower, the knowing process, and the known object. That is the Triputi. And without the dissolving of that, there is a thought in the form of Aham Brahma Asmi. When that kind of samadhi is there, where you are focusing on Aham Brahma Asmi, you are aware that I am focusing on Aham Brahma Asmi. So you are the Jnatra, you are aware. The Jnanam is there, the meditation is there, and the object of meditation is the thought. So when that is there is Vikalpalaya Anapekshaya. Triputi is very much present, it is not dissolved, and that is called Savikalpa Samadhi. Very clearly saying that in Savikalpa Samadhi, there will be the continuous presence of the thought in the form of Aham Brahma Asmi. And therefore, I am aware that I am meditating upon Aham Brahma Asmi. So I am the meditator. The meditation is there, Aham Brahma Asmi, and the object of the meditation is that particular thought, Aham Brahma Asmi. Since all three are present, and I'm aware of all three, it is called Savikalpo Nama, Savikalpa Samadhi. And topic 195, he talks a little bit more. So we'll read topic 195. Tada Mrinmaya Gajadi
Tada
Maya
mrinmaya
Rajati
Ane api
bhane api
Mridbhanavat
mridbhanavat
Dvaita bhane api
dvaita bhane api
Advaitam vastu bhasate.
advaitam vastu bhasate.
So he is pointing out that in Savikalpa Samadhi, there is a contradiction. What is the contradiction? Anybody can guess? When you say I am in Savikalpa Samadhi, there is a contradiction. What is the contradiction? It's a pretty obvious one actually. You are saying what? The thought is what?
Aham Brahmasmi.
Aham Brahmasmi, which is what? I am the non-dual Brahman. Right? The thought is I am non-dual Brahman, but the process involves the triputi, the knower or the meditator, the meditation, and the object of meditation. And therefore, the process involves duality. The thought is what? I am non-dual Brahman. But the thinking process itself involves duality. Do you see the contradiction? How can a thinking process involving duality be about a non-dual vastu? That is the contradiction. And therefore, the question is, there is coexistence of this duality, the triputi, and Advaitam, which is a contradiction in terms, because Advaitam, triputi is what? That Dvaitam only. So we are saying there is a coexistence of Dvaitam and Advaitam. How can they exist together? That is a problem. So for this, he gives an example. Imagine there are several wooden objects on the table. You know, a table is there, a chair is there in the room, a wooden door is there. Even by looking at all these various objects, what is happening? Your sense organs, the eyes, are perceiving the multiplicity, the plurality. However, you have the knowledge that everything is wood alone. Do you understand? Perception is of non-duality. Understanding is of duality. Sorry, other way around. Perception is of duality. Understanding is of non-duality. That is what he's saying. In this Aham Brahmasmi thought also, the triputi is there, but non-duality is there. Why? Because the substratum of all the three, the meditator, the meditation, and the object of meditation, which are all anatma. The substratum of all anatma is what? Is atma only. And therefore, even while perceiving the duality in terms of these three, the understanding is that there is only non-duality. And he gives an example. Tada Mrinmaya Gajadi Bhanepi. Even when there is an appearance of plurality in the form of elephant. So Gaja means elephant. Mrinmayam means made out of clay. So Mrinmaya Gaja means elephant made out of clay. And Adi means other animals. You can have giraffe, you can have horse, you can have cow. So there is an appearance of plurality in the form of various animals made of clay. However, Vrid Bhavanavat, the clay is understood intellectually as being the only substance, as being the substratum of all these objects. And similarly, Dvaita Bhane Api, even when Dvaitam is visible, Advaitam Vastu Bhasate. The Advaita Vastu is recognized as being the substratum of all Dvaita Vastu. Very, very important an idea. Okay, so I hope you have understood. You can have vision of plurality. Even when you become a jnani, The world will not vanish from your eyes. The same world which is there in front of you today will continue there. Your sense organs will perceive plurality, but your understanding will see all that plurality having the same substratum, same adhishthanam, which is Atma or Brahman alone. That is the understanding. Okay. So now we will look at topic number 196. Taduktam.
Taduktam
Taduktam
Drishiswarupam gaganopamam paramam.
Drishiswarupam
Gaganopam Param
Sakridvibhatam tvajamekamaksharam.
Sakridbhatam
Sakridbhatam Tvajamekam Aksharam
Alepakam sarvagatam yad advayam.
Alepakam sarvagatam
Vagatam Yadadvamayam
Tadeva chaham satatam vimuktam om iti.
Tadeva
Deva
chaham
Chaham Satatam Vimuktamom Iti.
So this is a quote from a text called Upadesha Sahasri. It's a very huge text by Adi Shankaracharya. 19 chapters, almost 600 verses. Taduktam. So this has been uktam, talked about by Shankaracharya. What is this? What does this mean? You have to refer to the previous topic. Savikalpa Samadhi has been talked about by Adi Shankaracharya in this particular text. And this particular text is chapter 10, first verse. And in this meditation, the meditator is invoking his nature as Atma or Brahman. So he says, Tat eva cha aham. I am that Brahman only. Satatam vimuktam. Always free. Drishi swarupam. The very nature of the drik, the seer, Chaitanyam. And paramam. Absolute consciousness. Pure consciousness I am. Upamam gagana. Comparable to gagana, space. And sakrit vibhatam. Always self-evident. And yet, ajam, ekam, aksharam, unborn, ekam is non-dual, aksharam is imperishable. So, always self-evident, always unborn, always non-dual, always imperishable. And alepakam is, which is not pollutable. So, any attribute of anatma will not pollute this Brahman. So, alepakam. And also, yet, Sarvagatam Advayam, all pervading Sarvagatam, Advayam, and non-dual. And Sarvagatam means association with everything, all pervasiveness. Alepakam is not contaminated by anything. Then why does he talk about Advayam again when earlier also he has said Ekam? Is it not Punarukti? So the commentators say no. Advayam is to refute Sajatiya, Vijatiya, and Swagata Bhedaha. Ekam is to establish non-duality. Advayam is to refute these three differences. Sajatiya, Vijatiya, and Swagataha. I hope you know what that means. What is Sajatiya Bhedaha?
Similar object.
No. Sajatiya Bhedaha, Vijatiya Bhedaha, Swagata Bhedaha. Differences in the same species, Sajatiya. Differences in different species, Vijatiya. Differences in oneself, same object, Swagataha. Okay. Does that need explanation? We have discussed this several times in Gita classes, in Prakarana Granthas. Anybody wants to tell me what it is all about? What is an example of Sajatiya Bheda? Differences within the species.
Gender.
Dogs.
Sorry? a male and a female, right? Species is human, but difference. Vijatiya, what is an example? Different species,
Animals and humans.
animals and human beings. Swagata Bhedaha, differences in one object. What is it? Hands, legs, eyes, nose. These are all differences. Okay, so this kind of the classification of Bhedaha differences is in this manner. Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata Bhedaha. So Advayam, when he says here, it is to refute these three types of differences are also not there. And therefore note that, we must note that in this kind of samadhi, where the mind is very much present, a lot of sadhana is required to reduce the FIR. And this is a gradual process. But here Shankara says, Tadeva chaham satatam vimuktam. I am not the mind at all. Where is the need to remove the disturbances of the mind? So this is a movement away from mind-centered practice into Atma-centered practice. And he says, Vimuktam Om. And that Brahman, which I am, is Om. That Brahman is the meaning of the word Omkara. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions? I'll be happy to take. Okay, so with this, we'll stop for today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya
Shanti, Shanti.
Om Tat Sat.
Acharya, thank you, Acharya.